For the past few months, I've been working on a 2D puzzle platformer game. Doesn't have a name yet, and that'll probably come after I work out the story. So far, I have most of the general functionality down and a few different levels designed. Where we left off, I was trying to make this number spinny dial puzzle work. So that is where we will continue. By the way, I made these goofy, beautiful t-shirts if you want one. There's a bunch of designs, so click the link in the description to take a look. Anyway, let's get back to the game. So I'm trying to take this old Flash puzzle I made and remake it in Unity. Before, I had these green pieces placed manually, but now I'm setting up a script to generate them and place them in a perfect circle. Looks to be working fine. Then I wrote a bunch of code to keep track of which piece is which and have them move each direction with a different key press. I won't bore you with the details, or bore myself with trying to remember every step and obstacle. But after days of struggling, I had this fully functioning number dial with adjustable numbers. At the moment they can only change to a random number when I press R, but after more problem solving I got it fully functioning. So you can press up and down to change the number at the top and the corresponding number on a clock face. That analogy would make more sense if there were 12 numbers, but there'll be instructions eventually. Then I made it so if you're touching this object, you can press E to enter puzzle mode, which locks the player in place and allows you to move the puzzle. Now it's time to make some art. The whole structure is just a big rock thing, so I drew some extruding bits and holes for the numbers. Then the pieces are little stones with white painted numbers. I animated a back idle for the player when you're in puzzle mode. Then drew a sort of control panel. Lastly, a stand to hold everything up. So I put it all together and made some camera adjustments and also made the player smaller. Now we have a fully functional puzzle that actually looks good. Well, still a couple things left to do. I made a glowing ring that shows which pieces you can change. Then coded the win condition and had the wall shoot down after the puzzle is solved. Of course, I'll include instructions on screen at some point, either as text overlays or baked into the artwork. I tried placing and timing these fire breathers in such a way that it was actually challenging to get past. It's nothing crazy, but it's only level 3. Now, I wanted to add a new enemy that flies, just some squares here as placeholders. You'll have to dodge them on this moving platform. I realized the platform length made it too hard this early on, so I made a longer one. We can save the short platform enemy dodging combo for a later level. Next I animated the new enemy. It's some kind of spiked ball with flapping wings on top. I wanted it to not be attackable, so I think the spikes are a good warning not to touch it. I did all the scripting for these flying enemies, so they deal damage and knock you back as per usual. They also have adjustable vertical and horizontal movement. I found that horizontal looks bad, so I may come back to it, but I'd probably have to animate a turnaround. I tested things out and placed them in a good spot along the gap. Now I gotta replace that bridge art with something more appealing. I also made a blockade for the start of the level. Then I continued building out the level and we had something almost complete. For the 4th level and the final one in the first area, I have this room with 12 doors and a screen. The screen is going to give you a riddle telling you which door to get in, and if you get it wrong you die. This will repeat for I don't know how long yet, but once you beat every stage you'll get this stone and get out of the level. I wanted to include a timer for a sense of urgency, so I looked at some tutorials and made one of those. I made some placeholder art and started working on the functionality of the doors. I needed the player to snap into place and hit the idle animation, while the door closes and the player switches sorting layers, and we need to detect which door we're in. Then of course all the opposite when you leave. Eventually I got it all working. So I made a proper door graphic and started writing the messages on the screen. Then I painted the rest of the background art in Photoshop. We have the back wall, platforms, and door frames. And I put a little screen on top for the door numbers. This is looking much nicer. Next I got the screen animation up and running so it goes to the next slide when it should, and put the numbers above the doors. Now it plays this intro message and the timer doesn't start until you get given the riddle. In this case it's just the number 3, but they'll get progressively harder. But I gotta make it so you die if you're in the wrong door or none of them at the end of the timer. You also need to not die and receive the next riddle if you get it right. I made a quick gas animation which is going to play every time the timer runs out. Then after a lot of coding and head scratching, I had a working respawn and next riddle system. You can also press F to skip the timer, and I'm skipping through the slides for testing purposes. I set up some text help on screen to show you what buttons to press, and now the mechanics of this level are pretty much done. I started making some more riddles, but I can't show them to you because that's spoilery. This level is going to take place in a river that you run through. I made the river animation and all the related artwork in this video here, so if you want to see more of the process you can watch that. But I had to export everything as separate pieces so I can design the level however I want at any size. And the river animation itself is tileable. So I started setting everything up and decided to use a random timer for these fish jumping out of the water. So they jump out of the water at random points, and I'm not sure if I'll use these as enemies or just keep them in the background, but I like them as decoration. Slowly but surely, I built out the level with different layers of parallax. And this looks pretty sweet. But there's one small issue. I don't know if you noticed, but he's just running on top of the water. And since this character is not Jesus, I think I should do something about that. Thankfully, Unity has a masking tool. So I applied a mask to the bottom of the player, then realized that's no good when you jump. So I put it in the water instead, and below a certain point you'll be invisible. There's a harsh line, but we'll sort that out. I can apply the mask to enemies or any other object as well. So I animated some white streams around the player's ankles, which gets rid of the hard line and improves the look regardless. Then I had to make it stick to the player and only appear when standing still in the water. It's working fine, except when you turn around it's a bit offset from your legs. So I added some code to move it a bit when the player flips. Now it looks as it should. I still need to put in splashes or something when you're moving, but we've made good progress. And that's where I'm going to end it off for this video. Well, I went through everything kinda quickly, but trust me, this was a very slow undertaking. There's still a lot left to do, but I'm getting better at using this program and programming language, so I have high hopes of a not too late 2026 release. Can't promise anything though. Hopefully next time we'll have sound implemented and more fundamentals like saving in a main menu, along with more levels. Anyway, hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you in another one soon.